How's it going, my dudes? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a continuation to the previous Regi EX builds video, and as promised, now I will talk about the skill damage teams that I have come up with and share a little bit more about them. Now, from this video, you're going to understand why I say that skill damage is not as strong as power flip for the fire team. And we're going to start off with the most cookie cutter team that I can think of, and it's going to look something like this. So on unit number 1, we have Clarice with the 80% skill gauge at the start, along with Viron as a sub. She's gonna be using the Whitetails X because we are definitely gonna wombo combo with Suzu. So if we jump straight to unit number 3, we have Suzu with our typical skill damage comp. We also have the Orochi Sword because we have Viron in the team and Viron grants us piercing. So unit number 2 is gonna look like Jin. Like I said before, if you can handle the poison, you can do without Jin. But because this is just kind of like an intro video, we are gonna include Jin anyway. And we are gonna have Annie as well. And okay, yeah, it is kind of weird to have Annie at the back because Annie is really well known for the fact that she has that real good skill gauge build up with her ability number 3, which is what we're going to be missing out on over here. But nonetheless, if you do not need Jin, you can definitely push Annie up. So Annie will be excellent in reducing the boss's attack as well as removing any potential buffs that the boss has. Slight clarification over here. So I checked with Vin. You cannot remove the buff on the boss using Annie or Clarice. There are only 2 ways to remove the buffs. Number 1, you defeat the balls that are around Regitari, and number 2, you break the boss. So just remember this, you cannot remove the buffs using your units. Shout out to Vin on this information. He makes a lot of good and simple to understand guides, and I have been watching his videos since day 1. So I will link his channel down in the descriptions below. You can go and check him out. His videos are super straight to the point. And now let's move on with the video. Because take note, at the start, the boss actually drops a lot of fire resistance buffs. She will also help out the team by adding a fire resistance debuff on the boss, and that will improve our runtime. So pretty straightforward. We have 533 skill gauge on unit number 1 and we have 495 skill gauge on unit number 3. We are going to wombo combo. Let's take a look at the run. Now unit 2 will go first, removes 1 buff from the boss, adds a fire resistance debuff, and then Suzu goes, followed by Clarice. So as you can see over here, this will be Nuke number 1. It's not doing too much damage. I mean, 980 something thousand, or rather 1 million damage. Is pretty laughable at this point. I mean, come on, even Sushiro does like 1.6 million damage at the start, right? But I digress, let's move on. As you can see, one very serious factor that is putting this team at risk is the fact that it lacks a lot of heals. Okay, so usually when we run Hanabi, we do have some heals from her as well. So Hanabi has an ability that heals us with flips, and if we include Noan, who does not fit in this team, we will then have extra heals as well. Also take note that our skill gauges are going to rise really slowly. The power flip team has tremendous amount of skill gauge build up, and it is not reliant on Suzu and Owl having a go, so that's where our DPS is hindered. So you're definitely going to see longer run times over here. But shameless plug, okay, my Discord server is up, link down in the description. Go and check it out if you have time. Ask questions, look at guides, and play mini games. I will see you over there. A lot of work was put in by our dear moderators, but let's take a look at the runtime over here. It is 53 seconds, not too bad. It is pretty decent after all. It's a skill damage team and it scales the longer the fight goes. So you're not actually looking at the full potential over here, but it is definitely nowhere in comparison to a power flip team. Okay, and next we have a variation of the skill damage team. Right now we are running something with a lot less skill gauges. Look at unit number 1, we have 453. Look at unit number 3, we have 345. I feel like I'm saying the same numbers over and over again. So like I've discussed in the previous video, one issue that it faced is high skill gauges, but now we are actually mitigating that. We're gonna run a deal instead of Viron. A deal does add quite significant amount of attack power as well. So we're gonna use him to lower our skill gauge, and we're gonna use Mia. So Suzu Mia is definitely one of my most favorite duos. I've talked about this duo a lot, and a lot of people are very confused about it. So let me explain one more time. Okay, so Mia, she does grant attack buff to your entire team when you have 30 combos. So she is a good option for your water skill damage team because your Okeanos Spear actually scales off that, but I digress a little bit over here. Now basically why I really like Suzu with Mia is that they too have very low skill gauges, and with very low skill gauges you're going to be able to wombo combo very often, thus fully stacking your Whitetails X very early on. And we have removed Annie and replaced Annie with the Owl. You don't really need to do that, but I think the Owl is kind of OP. The Owl is not going to be very effective on his own alone, but he will be very powerful, especially if you are running several Owls in the same co-op team. And without further ado, let's take a look at the run. So really similar to the first team, we are going to go with Suzu and then Clarice. We're going to remove buffs with Clarice, drop a hard nuke, kinda, and hopefully skill so many times that we build our Whitetails X and we actually account for our lower DPS. And this team is gonna be slightly more free-to-play friendly. Yes, you are still gonna need a Clarice, but this is with the assumption that you have a Clarice without a Hanabi. So if you are not free-to-play, I do not know what you are. But as you can see, we are at the 30-second mark and we are quite close to using our skill yet again, which is really nice. Okay, coming soon. Here you go, Suzu goes, and then Clarice immediately drops another nuke. So previously I think we did about 380k, now we did 480k. That is a stark improvement. So we just need to do this quite a few more times. The boss will still definitely be alive at that time, and we should be able to do a lot more damage by then. Eventually we are going to skill so frequently that I suspect it is possible that we can out DPS the first comp. But like I said before, this is going to be a much longer run as compared to the Power Flip team because of just how reliant it is on consistent skilling. So I kind of like to have piercing on this team because honestly without piercing, it is quite hard to fit another armament. So you can choose to run Rams as a sub, and Rams is really good because Rams has very short skill gauges. But do let me know which is your preferred skill damage team, and if it's different to mine, tell me what that is, and I will look into it and see whether it is a better team or not. So I like to share my experiences this way and learn from you guys as well. So let's take a look at the runtime, and we have 1 minute and 27 seconds. Okay, not fast at all, but like I said, it is a scaling team. It gets better the longer the fight goes. Now let's take a look at the third team. This is not going to be a skill damage team, but if you really do not have a Hanabi, you can definitely run this. I call this the support team. So what you're really doing here is having Noen to heal your entire co-op team, and you can use Annie, Bianca and Elise to not only land a lot of fire resistance debuffs, but Clarice with Annie can actually remove 2 of the boss's buffs at the start. And like I said before, the boss has fire resistance buffs. So it's pretty simple, you are just a support. You're not going to do a lot of damage. Well, at least not in comparison to the other teams. But you're definitely going to be very helpful, so take a look at the run over here. Annie goes first, removes a buff, adds a fire resistance debuff on the boss, lands an attack debuff that actually mitigates part of the death ball, sort of so to speak. The boss doesn't really have a death ball, but it has something quite similar. And the rest of the run is pretty straightforward. You're just going to be dropping a lot of debuffs, removing buffs, and just generally supporting the DPS and the HP of your allies. I mean, of course, you can tweak this to include maybe Dia, Elk, Owl. If you want to increase their DPS even further that way, that's fine. Because I guess overloading on fire resistance debuffs is also quite diminishing. But as you can see, we're not doing too poorly. We are doing quite okay here in terms of DPS. And that is partly because we are running a skill damage leader as well. So Elise is going to be a pretty okay sub to Clarice because Elise does boost Clarice's skill damage as well. And on top of that, Clarice is going to do a lot of damage because of the fire resistance debuffs. But do take note that this team does not scale over time, which is kind of sucky for a skill damage team. We won't be able to do increasing damage while the fight lasts. So we're really close to finishing. I'll just let the run end. And as you can see for yourself, it's about 1 minute plus, right? So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel. Subscribe for more World Flipper content. And join our Discord server down in the descriptions below. So this has been free to play by the way, and as always, I will see you in the next video.